folks, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about branding ROI, that's return on investment. Where's the payoff? And here we are from StreetSmart. Nate Streeter's here with me.
Hello.
And I'm Steve Lundgren. We're going to talk about making wise choices about your visual branding investment.
And this is probably one, Steve, that you are much more excited about than I am. And
yeah, well, my background's kind of in visuals, and at one point I was saying, hey, we should really do a topic on this one, and you bring some important things too, so it'd be fun to sort of to bounce some things back and forth here.
Well, I'm probably just too practical for this kind of conversation, but hopefully I'll have something.
Yeah, this should be good.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, so we've got 3 points that we want to go over. The first one is what's in a name or logo. Second one is about casting a larger shadow. Now that's something you brought to the table here, or we both agreed on. I guess this is something that I've believed, for many years, and we both sort of resonated on that idea.
Yep.
And the third thing is about visual brand consistency.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get into our first point here. What's in a name or a logo? Several things to say here. What does it say about you? I guess we can think about some different names. Like one of the examples I brought up earlier was, if the name of your company is Plymouth Painting,
right?
Well, that says something about you. You've got a city name, and you've got a business type right there.
Yep.
But it also raises some questions like, well, do you do work in St. Paul?
Right.
Is
exactly.
it only Plymouth?
Yep.
I mean, what sort of things do people read into your business name or logo?
Yeah, I mean, I say over and over when people come to me and they're asking me about this, I caution them because sometimes they'll spend months, thinking about stuff like this. But the truth is, it does make a difference, and particularly, I would say, just like we always do, right? Start with the end in mind. Like, how big a company are you wanting to build?
Exactly.
And, does that have geographic implications? Does it have, we're going to get into this, URL implicate, all kinds of things. So,
right.
When you're thinking about your name and logo, I would say start with the end in mind, and then that helps you. If you're always just going to be Steve Lundgren's cleaning service, well, then, perhaps some of these things we're about to talk about just don't matter quite as much, but
right.
Still, you're starting with the end in mind. Then that's fine,
So a company like, if you had a business name like Plymouth Painting, if your goals were to be a national company, then that wouldn't make any sense at all.
Right. No.
Unless you're talking about Plymouth Rock or I don't know what.
Right.
Or
if you just want to take pride in your local, I think that we've seen that with some like Hutchinson Technologies or different things where they really want to take pride in the fact that they're from a little town in Minnesota.
Right.
So
right.
I think but again, that says something about you. The fact that you take pride in it. And so,
right.
But what I say, Steve, the first thing I would always do, and in fact I do this over and over when people come to me and we're looking at this together, is the very first thing I do is go to GoDaddy.com or one of those and see if the URL is available. Yeah, I don't even think about name until I figure out what the URL is. You know what I'm saying? Because in my mind, that's the most important thing. I want to have a good URL. Yeah. So, but I'm a marketer.
Yeah.
So I want my name to match my URL. I don't want to be Plymouth Painting, but then my website to be a PlymouthPaintersWebsite.com, or I want it to match exactly if I can.
Right.
And
that just saves all kinds of problems.
Right. So as a marketer who's always thinking, I'm not looking to build $200,000 businesses. I'm looking to build multi-million-dollar businesses for my clients. The URL is extremely important. And so
those kind of considerations really need to be at the base level right at the beginning.
Right.
As you're considering that sort of thing.
Yep. But you're right. Colors make a difference. Depending what industry you're in. And, we've seen that a little bit. And, I often, depending on the size of the business, when people come to me and say, Nate, I need to design a logo and stuff, I usually tell people, I kind of ask them, well, like how big of a net are you trying to cast? Again, begin with the end in mind. So if you really want to be a large business, I would say, Steve, I usually recommend to go full process and spend, $1,200-$1,500. It's really not that much money, and do a whole tournament with professionals involved. We get our whole team involved, and we really can help people with that.
Right.
But if you don't have that kind of money, you can spend just a few $100s usually and get a serviceable logo.
Right. And this sort of works into the next point, the third point there, which talks about updating as products and services change. There's also a situation too where I think people have maybe done their own logo, and they've sort of done something that's not professional, and they really need to consider their image, and what does your name and your logo say about you? Does it say that it looks like you did it yourself?
Yeah.
Do you look professional?
Right.
Or do you does it look like it's just not?
Oh, absolutely. And you guys, I hear this all the time. You complain, I get the lowest percentage of the market. Well, some of that stuff makes a little bit of a difference when you show up and your business card looks like you designed it yourself, and your truck isn't marked at all, and you don't have anything on your shirt, or whatever the business might be. Let's say you're completely online business. When they come to your website, and it's obviously not well designed, and all those things make a difference. And it's subliminally they're thinking, I'm not going to pay as much for this.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that on the next point, I think, which is the casting a larger shadow.
Yep.
But why don't we talk about initial names? What do we mean by that?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't think you or I, Steve, are very fond of initial names. I mean, it just, so outside of IBM, I'd say stay away from it.
Right.
Because it's not good from a marketing standpoint. There's so many initial names that they're never going to be able to find you specifically on the internet. So there's just, you can't copyright it.
And it doesn't really say anything.
No. And so I just don't see it working very well. I from a marketing perspective, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Because going back to that marketing, I mean, everything I think about is marketing, but are you searchable? If you have a really generic name like Quality Painting, well, that really isn't searchable.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, if they look up Quality Painting, they're not going to just find you. They're going to find all kinds of things.
They're going to find every painting company that uses the word quality anywhere in their marketing.
Right. The other thing is Quality Painting, that's not really copyrightable. So your competitors can easily buy those two keywords and beat you in the pay-per-click game.
Right.
Even when people are looking for you.
Yeah.
So I like to do, sometimes, from a marketing standpoint, if you're really dependent on PPC, it might be better to have a really unique name.
Yeah.
So that people can, when they're looking for you, at least they can find you. So
exactly.
I like that. And so those are things I think about, when I'm thinking about a name and a logo and an identity package is, are they going to need PPC a lot? Then I don't mind last names, actually.
Yeah.
I know that's a little taboo, but sometimes last names can be great for that reason.
Right. So when you say PPC, you're talking about pay-per-click.
Pay-per-click, right.
Yeah, okay.
So if your business is really dependent on that, if it's not, maybe that doesn't matter quite as much.
Right.
But I guess to answer your initial question, I'd stay away from initial names because I don't see where that ever helps you. I think you lose in every scenario, and it's not memorable. Yeah. I mean, this is where do you win? I mean, for instance, like PDQ, that's a little different because it's like PDQ convenience stores, but that actually says something about their business.
Right. Plus, people know that when they use PDQ for pretty darn quick or whatever as just a regular part of our speech.
Right.
And so, in a sense, that means and it ties in so that.
Yeah, let's say you were an LOL greeting card. See, I think that's not really the kind of initializing that you and I are talking about. Right. Like that says something about your greeting cards. You probably make hilarious greeting cards.
We're talking about somebody's got a long business name that reduces it to initials to make it easier to say, which is okay in marketing material, but then uses it that way thinking it'll make them look more professional.
No.
And it really causes more problems than it solves.
No, yeah, I agree.
Let's go on to the next point here.
All right.
Casting a larger shadow. We're sort of kind of steering into this, so that worked great. This is a really interesting topic, and this really addresses the problem of someone kind of doing their own logo and what that says about their business from a professionalism point of view, and how if you really think about a logo as being kind of your front face or the thing that people know you by, what does it say about you? How you can take what is really essentially a small company, and if you have a really good looking visual branding. You can cast this larger shadow and look like a bigger organization. You can look more buttoned up. You can, people start to make assumptions about things in your logo, and you need to pay off with what that means. If it says you're more professional, then you need to be more professional.
Right.
But yeah, perception is reality. I guess that's kind of the point.
Oh, absolutely. I could start any home service business tomorrow and cast a shadow that I am a big player in the Twin Cities. Why? Because I know how to create that perception.
Right.
Because I've helped so many of our clients do it, right?
Yep.
So the truth is, Yeah, you can easily do that, but you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. These are the kind of areas where saving a couple $100 is going to hurt you incrementally over years and years. So
yeah.
I think I'm a big ROI guy, but this is actually an area where it's like, no, you don't see immediate return on investment, but it's worth it. Like spending, we're not trying to talk you into spending money with StreetSmart. We don't care about that. I just want you to make sure that this is not an area where you cut your corner, because the truth of the matter is it has such a little itty bitty effect every single day of your business.
Right.
And it's like, you just don't need that kind of liability. And
it reminds me of a comparison. Imagine being in a clothing store, a men's clothing store, and you go in the back and you need a jacket to go to meetings. Mm-hmm. And you can buy the $150 navy blazer, or you can buy the $50 yellow plaid one. Well, hey, you can save $100 if you buy the yellow plaid one. Right. But imagine what that does to you for all the meetings that you have coming up.
Well, you'd be memorable at least.
Memorable.
Maybe for the wrong reason.
Maybe for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And somebody might be able to make that work, but yeah, you just got to think about stuff like that. And a logo is very much like that.
Yeah,
save some money, but look what it does to you.
So many of our clients are home service businesses, so we like to use those a lot. But when Steve, the tornado hit our house a couple years ago, and so Leah and we did, I think it was like $180,000 worth of different repairs over 2 years on our home, and we put a lot of our own money into that too. And the thing is, I was shocked at how many people either didn't come with a business card, or their business card was terrible, or the vast majority didn't have any markings on their truck. They didn't, or just a million different things. And I know we'll get into a little bit more of that brand consistency in a second here, but the perception to me was, if you can't get your act together for your business card, do you think I want to let you do my $30,000 back porch?
Yeah,
exactly. Like I'm thinking like, that
really
seems,
trust them?
Yeah. So I mean, perception is reality, but is it?
Yeah, because in a sense, you could have three people standing there who are construction companies, and they may be all equally valued in terms of what they're able to do and what they bring. Right. But you have to judge them by their business card. Right. And what they look like. How professional are they? Are they going to be here tomorrow? Yeah. It's.
Yeah, that kind of stuff shows that you've been around and you're going to be around. And
exactly.
Then again, you guys complain about your pricing. This matters to that, because I definitely, if you're a home service business and you're the cheapest, oh my goodness, you do not want to be the cheapest. So how do you get 15% more than your competitors? This is somehow how you do it. Yeah. You cast a larger shadow. And then when the homeowner, when you show up and you do everything and your logo looks great and your website looks great and all these different things, they spend a little more with you because they feel a little more comfortable.
Right, you value yourself higher.
Right. So do it. I would say just do it. Unless you want to be a $200,000 little itty bitty business for the rest of your life, this is a good area to start in. And
yeah, you might have to bite the bullet a lot, but man, there's some great ROI and the payoff in the future for that. Right. So let's get into the next point here.
All right. Yeah. So we kind of already have been through a bunch of this, but
we're kind of leaning into this. Yeah. Visual brand consistency. Right. And this is a thing where people can really kind of learn from the big players.
Oh yeah.
And kind of look at you think about the McDonald's and the various kind of companies and how consistent they are with their branding, and what the sort of problems that we can see with smaller companies. So we've got a list of things here: a solid visual identity.
Well, and I think you and I remember, sorry to cut you off, Steve, but I mean, I remember you and I last week when we were talking a little bit about this too. We went to Target.com and we went to Walmart.com, and I think both you and I agreed that Walmart.com did a better job of transferring the store experience to the online experience. Yeah. Right. I think both you and I thought Target, it didn't quite connect as well. Right. And so, is that just about color? Is it just about logo? No, some of it is about how you organize things, and if you're selling physical products, is the experience similar? And I think the expectation level of what you're doing there. Right. So there's just, when you start talking about consistency, that really is tricky when you talk about the internet. But you need to have someone who thinks outside. I guess. Definitely don't let your web designer dictate all this. Have someone who's at least thinking a little bit marketing-wise be thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this is where I've seen a real big disconnect over the last couple of decades. Is I think people have forgotten or don't realize that a lot of times visual designers or graphic designers have been trained to work with clients to help them solve these sort of problems, and that you can really use them as a resource for more than just hands that run software.
Yeah.
That you can work with a visual designer, and the more information and background you can tell, if they're not asking you, you should be telling them about your company and what you're trying to accomplish. And the more they know about you, the more informed they'll be when they start making decisions about typefaces and colors and visual elements and some of these things. And they can be a great resource for you if they really understand about you. So if you're withholding information from them, then you may be shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, then that's a little bit of the thing with freelancing, is that that's sort of the downside of freelancing, is that the money just isn't there for them to really learn about a company. If you're paying someone $200 to do your logo, well, of course they really don't have the money there to learn about you. So they're just going to build the logo you tell them to build.
They just got a couple hours to turn some layouts, and
exactly.
And you need to look at it and tell them and steer
and
them from there.
I don't mind that if you had another pair of eyes that know a little bit about marketing that can help you guide that. So that's been my experience. The other problem with working with your designers, whether web or print, is that, quite frankly, most of them aren't trained to know very much about marketing because they don't need to. Their main goal is to make the customer happy.
Right.
Well, the customer often doesn't know the first thing about marketing. So making, you and I know this because we see it over and over. We get tons of people who provide designs to us, and they wonder why we're kind of putting up red flags. And it's like, well, look, our corporate designed this. Well, I don't care who your corporate is. They obviously don't know anything about marketing.
It's not working.
Just because it looks good doesn't mean it's going to work either.
Yeah.
And so I think, all these things to do with consistency and making sure you're thinking through this. And so practically, when you talk about vehicle graphics, I think the billboard is a good example with this too, where it's like, look, you can't have more than 5 words on your billboard, or maybe 10 at the most, because people are driving by at 60 miles an hour. Same thing with your truck. Like, you sort of have to think like, well, what's practical? I think what's practical is, okay, the very most value your truck has is when it's parked in someone's driveway and you're working on someone's house.
Right.
So when someone looks out their window, what do they see? Not when they're driving down the road very much.
Yeah.
So think through that a little bit strategically. And same thing with your signage and your uniforms and
all that stuff.
Yeah, like business cards. Like, when are they being used? How are they being used? What could be included on? I mean, we've done a lot with business cards. I mean, Steve, like, I look at a business card as a tool to do a million different things. So we do a lot with our clients with business cards.
Yep.
So invoices are great too that way. What's the opportunity there for upsell, for different things? Think through those things. And so I know I'm getting off track a little bit into marketing a little bit, but when you start talking about using these tools and the consistency, part of it too is thinking through strategically how to use all these different tools.
Right, which is almost a different topic, but what this is trying to say is that these things need to be consistent. So if you've got your old logo on the vehicle and a new logo on a card and things and this and that, and and you need to look at all that stuff, and what does that look like from the customer or the prospect's point of view.
Right.
Even the vehicle graphics, it doesn't make any sense to load your vehicle up with all kinds of information when it needs to be a simple presentation and look clean and orderly and professional.
Right. Yeah, because going back to that example we just had, if you're parked in your neighbor's driveway, you already have the social proof. They see that you're working on the neighbor's house.
Exactly.
So hopefully
don't need to labor that.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Well, let's finish this up. So what's next? How can you help us? You can leave a Google review or a comment below. You can share this video with somebody. Suggest a video topic, something that you'd like to hear us cover. If you think this video would be, helpful to someone else, share it with them and encourage them to watch it. Number 2, how can we help you? Maybe you want to address that, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to help you. So, just send us over, a comment, email. You can connect with us on Twitter. It doesn't matter. We'd love to help you with this a little bit. Don't worry. We never talk about money until we know we can help you.
Yeah.
So, but hit us up. If you need help creating some consistency, casting a larger shadow, or even if you're in the very intro stages, heck, I help people every month pretty much for free even, just kind of pushing them in the right direction. So
if somebody wants to show us their logo or some of the applications and get some input from us, this would be a perfect opportunity.
Exactly. We love that. So look forward to that. Get in touch with us, and we'll take it from there.
Great. Stay well.